I'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity. And we are with Tim again and talking about integrity and anger and addiction to anger. Like, have you ever met somebody that's really angry and they might even not know they're angry? Or are you an angry person and you don't understand why? And you might be like, how do you become addicted to anger? So, Tim, you're interesting because you have a lot of anger in your life and you acknowledge it and you're working on it. So, way to go on acknowledging that you're an angry person, and then way to go on working on it. Like, wow. And that I think connects back into, the three things that, a lot of the addiction is centered around, which is entitlement and then self-righteousness and then victimhood. And so it seems like every addiction comes back to entitlement, like I'm addicted. So I'm entitled to be addicted, or I'm addicted to being angry. I'm entitled to being angry. I'm, I'm actually a good person because I'm angry about something that I should be angry about. And then I'm a victim when people respond to my anger in a way that, where I'm treating them the way they're treating me. And then all of a sudden I'm a victim because they treated me the way I'm doing. And I might be the cause of the whole thing. So, Tim, what are your overall big picture thoughts on anger? Like, why are people angry in the first place?
I think there is a lot of excuses people would like to give. Um, there's so many different things going on in so many different people's lives that they could claim anger for that. But I think the deepest core part of anger is the entitlement, the self-righteousness that you believe that bad things happen to you, or sometimes even good things happen to you and you don't even realize they're good yet, that you're mad that the fact that these things are happening to you, you believe that you deserve better than what you have. You deserve better than the cards you've been dealt. And so a lot of anger comes from overall self-righteousness and entitlement.
So, like, how did you come to this self-awareness? Like, what?
Um, I'll be honest, it came with I would say my main source of finding this, or the integrity that brought me this way, was a breakup. A breakup, not one but two breakups in 6 years, and those breakups hit me to a point of, first breakup, it was, I'm angry. It's not my fault. This is BS. This is not my fault. Second breakup, I'm like, man, the same issues occurred the second time around, and this time the girl was really nice to me. So what could be going on here? Okay, she says I'm angry. Both of them said I was angry. The first one said I was angry and she was angrier. The second one said I was angry and she was nice. Okay, so I'm angry. Why am I angry? Oh, well, I'm angry because my brother took his life in front of me. I'm angry because I was assaulted at a young age. I'm angry because of my drug habits. No, no, I'm angry because all of these things are happening to me for a reason. What could that reason be? Okay, do some YouTube research. My YouTube research came down to, you're entitled. You're angry because you believe that you deserve something. And so, I mean, I had a situation happen at work this week where I cleaned the floors. I know I cleaned the floors. I washed them and I swept them. My manager lets me finish up the day. We're almost out. I'm almost left early for the day. And I'm sitting there, I'm so excited to leave early, even though the fact that I need money and they were going to send me home early. They walk in there and they look at the floors and they say, "You didn't sweep or mop these." And my anger instantly sets off in my head. I'm like, what do you mean? I swept and mopped those. You're accusing me of something now that I know I didn't do. And they're like, well, it doesn't look like you swept and mopped then. And I was like, so do you want me to re-sweep and mop? And in an angry tone, yes. I walk off. I'm like, okay, huff off. I walk back in there and I look at those floors and man, I'm still angry. I'm like, these are fine. I did what I could. I gave the tools they provided me. We usually have this soap that can clean the floors very nice. We don't. So they gave us dish soap. They can't clean the floors. And like, well, they provided me these tools. So this is their fault. This is not my fault that I didn't clean the floors. And then I was like, okay, they have isopro alcohol. Let me spray the floors. I spray one section of the floor and I mop it and it comes up brand new clean. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I am so angry right now. And at first I was angry because they lied, they quote unquote lied to me and said that they were accusing me of something. Second, now I'm angry because and then I was angry because they didn't give me the right tools. And now I'm angry because they're right. I'm angry because they were telling the truth and I couldn't see it. And now I'm angry because they saw my anger and I wasn't able to control it fast enough. And so now I'm sitting there with myself. Okay, how do I pick up the pieces? How do I pick up the pieces of my mess? But I didn't blow up. It didn't blow up, and that's the key thing. Is you have to find it's certain situations in life you don't get that leeway of deciding. Oh, when am I angry? Why am I angry? What is making me angry? You have to do it quick because if you don't do it quick, you're going to lose your life. You're going to lose your job. You're going to lose your love of your life. You could lose all of those things in a second, in a split, end of day. But go back, I re-clean the floors. I do what I can. I go to my managers. I could have pulled victim mentality. While I was working, I cut my hands open and I could have pulled, hey, I hurt myself and go home. Regardless, job's not done. So I wrap my hands up and I do my job. I go to them and I say, hey, completely see what you're talking about. I could have swept and mopped a lot better. But I didn't sweep very well still because I was still there's a little bit of, even now with my enlightenment, there's a little bit of, oh, well, I swept just fine. The mopping is what they were talking about. They walk back in there, they look at the floors and they say, the mopping looks great. There's still a little bit of dirt on the ground, but you can go home. And I said, well, I'd like to stay if it's not done. And they said, no, you got to go home. It's time is day. So I didn't even get the time to fix it, but I could have fixed it the first time and the second time, but I did not. And so that is a big eye opener for me because it is doing something right the first time, the best time. And why? If it's not because you enjoy your job, if it's not because you enjoy the money, do it for your self-integrity. Do it because you want to make yourself look good. If you want to be self-righteous in a good way. You want people to look at your work and say, that was Tim Boersma's work. That was my work, not, oh, Tim Boersma did that work. It got the job done. And so overall is you have to find love for yourself. You have to find love enough for yourself that these bad things keep happening to you. Okay. Why? Okay. It's on you. Ultimately, yeah, sucky things happen. I'm not saying certain situations you can't prevent against, but some things you can. And so overall it's finding love for yourself and just getting to the point, doing what you got to do and finding the inner peace within yourself, I suppose.
And I think that's all good. And I think the thing is I think people are out of control and they don't know it. They don't realize it. And they don't
Right.
even look like they're out of control, but what's going on inside of them is not what's being reflected on the outside. And sometimes that's good, right? Sometimes, well, why are we feeling it? My wife read an article verbally from the Wall Street Journal that's really cool, that it's like having an out of body experience, like where you go outside visually, you go outside and you look at yourself and say, why am I angry? Well, why am I hurt? Why am I mad? Why am I sad? Why am I like any of the emotions that we have? Because it seems like most emotions we don't handle really well. We just don't. So we make a bad situation worse. And it's like, so when I get emotional about something, if I can have an out of body experience, and there's two people there, there's me and me. and I'm critiquing myself. And so when I critique myself harder than anybody else can critique me, I will feel good about that. And anybody that critiques me, if I've critiqued myself harder than other people will, I'm not going to get defensive and angry because I'm going to be like, yeah, that this guy didn't do well in that situation. And
It's
so,
like the classic when you're younger is you always say, I always told myself, oh, nobody can be a bully to me because everything that I've said to myself is worse than everything everybody else said. I'm my biggest bully. Okay, so be your biggest fan, be your biggest supporter. Talk to yourself and figure out what are your expectations, because if someone has expectations, you beat those expectations.
right.
So when they come to you and they're like, you just blow people's minds and make yourself be exactly who you want to be and better, and don't stick there in the moment. Don't say don't never get comfortable. Don't get comfortable, because
See,
once
this,
you're comfortable, you fall back.
see, and yeah, you're either growing or dying. I agree with that. I remember when I was 24 years old and, I was, in my first professional job out of college, and I was a manager and I'd been promoted to manager, and it was like 3 months into it, 3 months into it. And the owner of the company said, hey, we're going to come and we're going to we're going to have to, because sales aren't what they were, what they needed to be. And I was working like crazy. I mean, I was working as a sales manager. I was working like crazy to go ahead and get the sales, but they weren't there. But it was only 3 months into it. And he says, we're going to have to lay off a processor. And I said, no, that's my responsibility. He says, Mark, there's no choice I have. I'm like, yes, there is actually. I'm going to go ahead and I'll take a pay cut. And he's like, Mark, you're married, your wife is, you have, baby on the way, you have a house payment, you can't afford it. I said, I know, I'll just have to sell more. I'll figure it out. He's like, Mark, it's not your responsibility. You only been in this position 2 to 3 months. I said, it is my responsibility. And so, I took the pay cut and, worked harder, and, and the processor was never let go, never laid off. And we turned, got the sales so it's like when we take ownership and stuff, like what we don't understand is like when we're angry, I believe Tim's absolutely right. Anger is an addiction, and anger comes back to entitlement. I'm entitled to something I'm not getting. This is why I'm angry. And so, well, what does that come back to? I think it's a lack of taking ownership. What people don't understand is that when we don't take personal ownership of a situation, then we give control to other people. And when we give control to other people, bad stuff's going to happen, good stuff's not. Then we're going to be angry, we think, at them for taking control, but they didn't take control. Like somebody can't take control of us. We can only give control. And so, but we think we're angry with them, but we're really angry with us because we gave them control. We gave them control over something that they shouldn't have control over. And that's us. So
It's like in one of the videos I saw, it's like the puppet master is you're giving people the strings to your life. You're letting these people grab and hold on to other areas of your life, creating you to be this puppet that either they or you want them to be, and you're allowing these people to pull these strings.
yeah. So we're going to have a lot more conversation on this. And, if you're viewing this podcast through the Life GPS, that's like the coolest way to view it. You can view it a lot of different ways, but view it through Life GPS, because then just look above and look at the different personalities and look at where it's number 1 and number 2 and number 3 and number 4, and click on the number 1. Because when you're hearing this, like when we go to seminars as an international speaker and author, and we'll get into this when Tim was like 5 years old and was speaking around the country as a professional speaker. We'll get into that in another podcast. But like when we go to seminars or workshops, or we read books, or we watch YouTube videos, or do whatever, most of the time we learn things that we shouldn't learn, and we don't learn the things we should learn. And so, Tim, in the next podcast, we were talking on the pre-show. I wish all the listeners could listen to the pre-show and the post-show, because that's as good or better than the show itself. And so but when we're talking about that on how a marriage, so my wife and I, we just recently celebrated our 39th anniversary. And so in a marriage, we go to a marriage seminar and I hear things that really aren't going to help our marriage. You've probably heard it. She hears things that really aren't going to help our marriage, but heard it. And so we're not picking up things that we should. We're not self-aware. We're not understanding. We overvalue things we should undervalue things we should overvalue. We overvalue what our strengths and what we give to other people, and undervalue our weaknesses and what other people. So all of these things lead to anger. And so if we can do like Tim did and put a stop on it, like, don't let that happen, and say, and have an out-of-body experience, look back and say, why am I angry? Really, not why do I think I'm angry? And if it's somebody else's, we say they're the reason we're angry. We're not taking ownership. And so if you have any questions on this, for sure, connect with, the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300, outside the US 630-393-9909. If you're motivated and inspired, man, this was really, really awesome. If you go through Life GPS, you can have a mentor, and then you can have two buddies. So you have three people. So you have one art mentor, somebody who's going to mentor you in this or whatever you want to be mentored in. And then you have two people you're mentoring. So you get helped by one, and then you help two other people. And what's weird is the people we're helping, we actually learn more from them than the person we're mentoring. So for sure, get a mentor and get two buddies, and it'll be amazing what'll happen. Tim, thanks so much for an amazing podcast. Look forward to our next podcast. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.